Welcome to Fitness Explained, the podcast. I'm your host, Mel Waller. I'm a third-year sport and exercise science student, and I have a passion for science and helping others create a balanced and healthy lifestyle through understanding the science behind health and fitness. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fitness Explained, the podcast. Today on episode 10, which I know, yay, double digits, is going to be about looking at how alcohol is impacting performance and what alcohol is doing to your performance. But first, I want to talk about the item, exercise, product, task, or food I've been enjoying recently / in the past week. I've been enjoying this for a while. I'd say like 3 months. Yeah. But I thought I'd talk about it today because why not? It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. So recently I've been really enjoying my budget planner, like my finance budget planner thing that I made myself. I didn't like, you can get, there's 1,000 out there of types of budget plannings that you can free download or purchase from finance influencers or whoever. And yeah, I just thought I thought I'd mention this because I'm in week 10 of uni of my last year of my last semester, so I literally have 2 weeks left plus an extra 6, but the extra 6 I'm not going to count, so like have 2.5 weeks left basically, and then I'm friggin' free, which is a bit scary but exciting at the same time. And knowing the majority of my audience are probably really tired because they're at a similar time in their life, but also just university students in general, it's hard. And then also like people probably fatigue from ISO and coronavirus, and then also because our society just thrives on us overworking ourselves. So I just thought a budget planner is something that I feel like everyone could benefit for. Even if you're the richest of the rich, having a budget planner is awesome. And I feel like also I look at mental and physical well-being, but I think that there is also financial well-being that is super essential to feeling good. And to an extent, if this is your thing, spiritual well-being as well. I feel like if your finances are in order, I feel like you're a little bit more motivated to get stuff done because you're not feeling stressed over finances and stuff like that. I know when I know what's coming in, what's going out, and that I know that more is coming in than is going out per se with my finances, that I feel more at ease. And I'm sure that everyone can relate to that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. So how my budget planner works is I have all my different random expenses from Optus bill, because I'm with Optus, so telephone bill for people who listen overseas, mobile and Wi-Fi, which soon to be NBN probably, I don't know what's going on, through to groceries and other bills and what else? Frivolous expenses, health and well-being. I've got a tab under that, which means anything from remedial massage, physio, any other health-related appointments. And then groceries, I already mentioned that, takeaway food, frivolous expenses like clothes and makeup and jewelry, like stuff that I don't really need, but it's nice to have and I like to treat myself with. And also it's nice to analyze like what you spend your money on, to analyze what your what you value in life, and that can relate back to health too, because if you look back on your expenses and you're going, heck, I'm spending $150 on takeout a week, and I'm also spending I don't know, $50 a week on cigarettes. Well, clearly, but you're also saying you love health and well-being. Well, do you actually love health and well-being if that is what you're giving to your body? So that's something that I think everyone can benefit from. And I just do it in an Excel spreadsheet. I just have because I I get paid every month. So I have basically a tab or a little cell in Excel that has my income of the month, and then anything extra added, like freelance stuff, is added onto that, and there's other cells for that. And then basically at the bottom, I have a total for income at the top, and then separately down the bottom I have total expenses for each day. So my budget planner has each day how much I've spent, and then I divide my income by how many weeks there are in the month, so roughly 4.5, and then I subtract, so I can how much I've spent from my total monthly income. So you could do the same thing but for weekly or fortnightly, depending on how often you're paid. So yeah, I just think that's a pretty nifty thing, and I think everyone could benefit from. So without further ado, let's move on to the main topic of the segment. Alrighty, so today we're going to be talking about what alcohol is doing to your performance. So, fly just came across my vision. Obviously, I would much rather prefer if you are over the age of 18, if you're listening to this podcast, but if you're not, that's fine. It's educational, I guess. I'm not, telling drinking stories or anything like that, so I guess it's appropriate for everyone. But obviously I would prefer if you are over the age of 18, if you are drinking. If you are under the age of 18, let's maybe rein that back in. But also I think it's not just me, but before Corona, BC times, I think a lot of people were drinking less than what they are now. And that's for a magnitude of reasons, but I thought it's a quite relevant and prevalent topic to talk about, because it's one thing to drink your sadness away because it's Corona, and it's the only thing getting you through till tomorrow, but that's not really healthy. You should be able to self-regulate enough to not do that. So but I also think that this is a topic that is essential and prevalent to talk about, coronavirus or not. I think especially in Australia, we have quite a weird dynamic with drinking, in that we do a lot of it, and I think that we need to talk about the risks a little bit more, but not in a way that's in a scary car crash TAC ad sort of way, and more in a way just an objective way of talking about alcohol, for the good and the bad and the ugly. That alcohol doesn't necessarily have to be this bad toxic thing that we're scared of, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this amazing thing that brings us joy in our lives. It can be just this neutral thing that we just talk about. So that's another reason why I wanted to talk about today. And also, I don't think people realize this true extent as to what alcohol is doing to our health, mainly because we live in a community or society that encourages drinking, or not encourages, but it's readily available, and we do a lot of it as a nation. So before we talk about all of that stuff, I want to talk what on earth is alcohol? Like, what is alcohol? So technically, it is a macronutrient. So just like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, and let's talk about how many kilojoules or calories. In Australia, we say kilojoules. I prefer not to say calories. That's just because that's how not raised. I haven't been raised to say kilojoules, but that's what we use at uni. So that's what I speak in, kilojoules, not calories. It's a simple Google conversion if you want to know what the calories are of what I'm saying. So yeah, alcohol has 28 to 29 kilojoules per gram of and then in comparison, carbohydrates have about 17 kilojoules per gram, and protein is 17 again, and then fats or lipids are 37 kilojoules per gram. So if you think about it, like, it's not much bang for your buck. You're getting very low nutrition and for high amount of kilojoules or energy. So yeah, but how much is too much alcohol? I think that's something we kind of like and ah, and obviously, it's all dependent on who you are. It's a personal thing. Like I had a friend. Like there's some people who are allergic to alcohol, and I have friends from high school whose sisters and whatnot couldn't have more than one drink, or else they would feel sick and gross, like how some people might feel after having 15 drinks. It's all very, very personal. And so this is just a generalization that is recommended on where did I have this recommended from? That's bad. It's just as a guideline from DrinkWise. So how much is too much? So 4 or more in a session for women, and 6 or more in a session for men. But as I said, everyone's different, and it's just a guideline. And what is a serving of alcohol, I want to talk about too. So in Australia, we define a standard drink as 10 grams of alcohol, so the equivalent of 12.5 milliliters of pure alcohol. And on average, this is how much the human body can process in 1 hour. So you can roughly process one standard drink in an hour. So, what was I going to say? Wow, the dysfunction of this podcast sometimes. Sorry, what I was going to say is just, I looked into some new, like, journal articles, obviously, as I always do for the podcast, but also I look into just, I thought today it would be especially important to look into just newspaper articles in general to see what the average person thinks of when they think of alcohol, and what our relationship is with alcohol, because, you know, as I say, the science can say one thing, but you might say another. So at this Sarah Keating quote from her article on why you might be drinking too much during lockdown. So she said, confined to our homes with little else to do, it's tempting to turn to the bottle for entertainment, which I feel like a lot of people can relate with. And like I said before, is a reason why I wanted to create this podcast. So there has been a rise in alcohol sales during lockdown, but also, having said this, bars and clubs are closed, and so they're not going to be serving alcohol either. So we need to take that into consideration when looking at alcohol sales. And also, according to the writer Johann Hari, I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's spelled JohannHari. Awesome dude. He has an amazing TED talk on addiction, and he said having an addiction can be heavily linked to a lack of human connection and purpose. And if we think about what is happening during COVID-19, is we're having less human connection, and we're also, and for some people, not much of a purpose because of job loss, or because, again, that human connection might be part of your purpose, or whatever it might be. Your purpose might be affected. For a while mine was too, but then I feel like this podcast especially has helped me with that. And then also uni, I'm so thankful for having uni to do at the moment. So yeah, that's just, I thought you might want to know, so that I don't, so it doesn't feel like I'm just lecturing you about all these statistics and all these quotes from experts and condemning people. No. As I said before, I think this can apply to life in general and not just what we are now. And I think it's really important that we know what alcohol is doing to our body, so that you can understand what is going, because I think that's something that we should all know, is like know what is going into our body, and not just trusting that companies know what's best for us. So alcohol does affect our physical performance and health. I think that is something we all probably know deep down, whether you like it or not. And as I said before, Australia, we do have quite a dysfunctional relationship with drinking, I'd say. Like, for example, a lot of people say after a long day's work, who are over the age of 18, oh, I need a drink. And I think that's a really I mean, I personally don't feel like that. That's just me though. But I feel like a lot of people who work office jobs go, oh, I've had such a long day, I need a drink after they come home. But to me, I don't think that. I think after I've come home from a long day's work, or at the moment I'm at home after doing a long day's work, I think, oh, I need a 9 hours sleep and a nice serving of veggies and other nutrient foods, and also maybe a hug. Which is, so, I mean, having said that, I've worked very hard on making sure that my relationship with alcohol is positive for no reason, just because I think that's something that I should do because that's what my body needs. Oh, yikes. My dog has started snoring pretty loudly, so if you can hear that, I'm so sorry. Maybe if you like ASMR, you're welcome. But a documentary I actually really love, just a little side note, is a 3-part documentary that ABC produced called On the Source by Sean McLeaf. It's really, really interesting, and I highly recommend. It's on iView, so it's free to watch. Highly recommend. And as I said before, I don't want to call people out or inflict blame, because that's not helping anyone, you know. I think that, you know, it just doesn't help anyone. But I do want to acknowledge that we do drink a lot as a nation, and hopefully this makes you feel a little bit more comfortable. I don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I'm going to tell you how much I drink personally. I'm not saying that I'm amazing and better than you because of how much I drink, and I'm not saying I'm worse than you by how much I drink. I'm just letting you know how much I drink, so that hopefully you can feel like this is a bit more personal, and I'm not just standing on a virtual stage going, do this, do that. So when I was a little bit younger, so say 17, 18, 19, I'm currently 20, and obviously I don't do as I say, not as I do. Don't drink when you're 17. I used to drink to get drunk, and I would do that, I don't know, 1 or 2 times a week. And the issue with that is that I wanted to get drunk. I think that is something that is a dysfunctional relationship with alcohol. If you are drinking to get drunk, I think that is something that you might need to reassess in your life. So now I probably drink anywhere between once a fortnight to twice a week, and at most in a week I'll have at most 4 drinks. And according to DrinkWise is okay, and so that's good to know that what I'm doing isn't unhealthy, which is good to know. Having said that, sometimes I do drink more than the recommended amount when I'm celebrating, or I'm having a fun night out with friends. But it's a rare occurrence, and it's my relationship now is far more healthy than what it was when I just finished high school. And yeah, that's what I think. I think a lot of people are in that boat. But there's sirens. Hopefully you can't hear them. Sorry, but I can. And I just thought I'd let you know. I mean, I don't think I ever had a problem with alcohol. It's just something that I did because I think my friends were doing it, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Got nothing better to do. Obviously, and that wasn't sustainable. Like, living like that isn't sustainable. So that's basically why I had to improve my relationship with alcohol. So, now I want to move on to asking you a question. And you to ask yourself a question is, why are you drinking? Like, assess yourself and sort of, for as cringy as this sounds, check yourself before you wreck yourself with alcohol. Like, are you lacking human connection? Are you bored? Are you not great at managing your emotions? Do you need it to help you sleep? Or is alcohol just something super accessible to you? Is your parent, do they have a poor relationship with alcohol? Does your partner or who you live with have a poor relationship with alcohol? Like that, I think we need to think that more as a nation, not just on an individual level. Like, why are we drinking? Are we drinking to escape, or just because we like the taste, we don't want to drink too much, and we like to drink it when we're socializing with friends? And that's something that I do as well. I don't drink when I'm alone, and I only drink socially. So Yeah, and now I want to move on to the actual topic. Sorry, that was a really long intro of 13 minutes. Yikes. Anyway, let's talk about what alcohol does do to our body. So the first part, I want to talk about sleep. Second part, physical performance and physiological effects. Third part is cognitive performance. And I think then we'll wrap it up. Yeah, so first of all, sleep. Alcohol, what the studies are saying, seems to affect the latter half of our night's sleep, especially because I don't know if you've had a few too many drinks, you'll probably fall asleep super easily, but the next morning you might get up super early, or you might feel like you haven't had a great night's sleep, even though you went to bed like lights out. And in particular, our REM, or rapid eye movement sleep, is really affected by alcohol, and alcohol suppresses our REM, or rapid eye movement, as I said before. So according to DrinkWise, while drinking alcohol before bedtime may help you fall asleep, in the short term it can affect the quality of your sleep, and it also it disrupts your sleep cycles, resulting in early morning waking. So basically what I said before, meaning we overall get less duration of sleep and less quality, which I talked about in the last podcast, but obviously, as I say, week in, week out, I need to do a podcast, probably a three-parter on sleep. And it would be awesome if I could get like a sleep specialist in too. Anyway, that's for later. So part 2, physical performance and physiological effects with alcohol. So consuming alcohol after training impacts our ability to generate new muscles, or myofibrillar protein synthesis, or also known as MPS. So on top of this, less sleep results in lesser ability for our bodies to perform MPS. And as you, of course, can imagine, this probably impacts hypertrophy, or our muscle building, so muscle growth in size. And I think although people may not be looking like to get super ripped all the time, we always generally want to be making sure our muscles are staying strong and as strong as possible. And as you can imagine, more muscle cells, so hypertrophy, equals stronger muscles. And moving on from that, fat-free mass. So that is fat-free mass, but now I want to move on to fat mass. So the general rule, and by general I mean like 99% of the time, to maintain weight, we should be consuming roughly the same amount of calories per day. And if we consume excessive amount of calories, it will result in weight gain. Simple as that. 1 + 1 = 2. And most of the time, that weight gain is fat mass. Obviously, this is referring to someone who's finished physically developing. Like, I'm not talking about children here. So as I mentioned before, 1 gram of alcohol has 28 to 29 kilojoules per gram. So that means that 1 standard drink has 10 grams of alcohol. Therefore, you're consuming about 285 kilojoules, not including the calories from like the beverage itself, like the wine, the grapes that are in it, and every other thing that's in the wine, whatever, or the mixer, or like if you're drinking vodka, vodka is different from the pure alcohol. So there's extra calories on top of that. And so if that's just a single beverage, so 285 kilojoules, you're gonna consume a fair amount if you're drinking, say 4 drinks on a night out, because if you include everything else that's in the drink times 4. So a really common suggestion that people make when advising people on weight loss is, or just general health, is to avoid drinking your calories, or drinking as many kilojoules as possible, because they don't keep you full and they're not very nutritionally dense. Obviously, that's aside from juices and smoothies and stuff like that, that do have quite high nutrient levels, and more bang for your buck, as you might say. So, and you've heard me talk about carbs before, and carbs are great for you. You know, we shouldn't fear the carbs that are in wine, the carbs that are in vodka and beer, because there are carbs in there, and a fair amount. But also, not all carbs are created equal, and not having, and so we need to think about, you know, fiber is a carb. Okay, let's think about alcohol and like a wine carb versus fiber. I think we can generally see that one is better for us than the other. And also having fat mass is not a bad thing at all. I want to make that very clear. But having excessive fat mass can have detrimental effects on our health and also physical performance. And if having a few less drinks a week or a day even for some people can help with that, then I think that's a bit of a no-brainer. Like if you say you're having 3 wines a night, maybe cut that down to 1 wine a night. But I swear I heard somewhere that if you have one glass of wine every night for a whole year, that's an extra 5 kilograms of fat mass that you're adding to yourself. I mean, that's not scientifically backed. I don't have a resource for that, but I'm fairly sure I heard that from an exercise physiologist, which is a bit scary to think of. So yeah, think about how much you're drinking a night and think about how that is affecting your weight and your health. It also alcohol also impacts our aerobic performance, as alcohol is dehydrating or a diuretic. And when we have less water volume in our blood, it increases the thickness or viscosity, making it harder to reach our working muscles and deliver oxygenated blood, and also remove byproducts when exercising. So an example of a byproduct is like lactate and hydrogen ions, or commonly known as lactic acid. So, you know, that burning feeling when you're going for a run or you're doing hill sprints or whatever. On top of this, alcohol also decreases vitamin and mineral absorption, which links back before to I said the protein synthesis, as I mentioned. So now I want to move on to third part. Oh, sorry, I do have a fourth part, which is mood and mental health. So, but the third part is cognitive performance. So, although not directly related, we should talk about the fact that you are far more likely to injure yourself when you are inebriated. For a multitude of reasons, one being that your proprioception, or your ability to feel your body in its environment or space around you, being significantly reduced after drinking. Like we all know that footy player who's done their ankle or their shoulder or their wrist, etc., during Boys on Tour in Bali because they've fallen off some wharf while walking back to their hotel completely blind drunk. Like we all know someone like that. And there also have been studies that show how dehydration and cognitive performance is linked, and that dehydration is linked to poorer cognitive performance. So, having said that, more research is required, but also if you think about it, if you're really dehydrated, you're probably not gonna think as quickly as you would if you're hydrated. That's me. That's like personally how I feel. If I'm really dehydrated and I'm doing a test, I'm probably not going to do as well if I've had 2 liters of water for the last week or something like that, for example. So now moving on to part 4 of mood and mental health. Like I alluded to before, I try not to link drinking with negative emotions, and I don't drink alone. And by that, I mean, if I'm feeling down, I strictly don't drink. Even if I'm with friends, I don't like to have emotions associated with drinking. And because, drinking, if I feel bad, it might make me feel better, but in the long term, it most certainly is not going to make me feel better because when I don't drink the night before, I wake up feeling fresh and better, and that's going to be way better for my long-term well-being. And in a way, I sort of treat drinking like the smell association theory, in that, say you study for a test and you have a candle or a cologne or perfume that you wear, and then you wear that cologne or perfume in the test, you're probably going to do better in the test because you've associated that subject or that studying with that smell. So I try to do that to my brain, in that if I don't drink when I'm sad ever, I will not associate drinking with feeling sad, if that makes sense. That's just my personal opinions and philosophies, and you by no means have to do that. I just think that I should share before going around saying, this is the science, do what it says, because, you know, I think with a topic as sensitive as alcohol, I need to be a little bit more personal and empathetic around the subject. So, yeah. And also alcohol has been linked to increasing feelings of anxiety, especially with the come down that's associated with drinking, like hangovers, along with a multitude of other mental health disorders and illnesses that are exacerbated by alcohol and consuming alcohol. I also want to include the DrinkWise link that is all about the effects of alcohol on your body in the link below, because I think the more, as I said at the start, the more we know and the more educated we are about our health, the better. And I think it's a really awesome read. And without further ado, thank you for listening, and let's move on to question of the week. Okie dokie. So question of the week. I've started to do this more and more, but I've kind of been just freestyling question of the week. So the question of the week comes from a friend of mine asking or saying that she trains HIIT and circuit style bass, but on a concrete floor, and that has started to make her joints a little bit sore. And what's something that she can do about it? So first of all, I think that if there is like a park around you or something, where just a grass area around you, training on grass is going to really, really help with that. And also making, like, I say this all the time as well, but like a physio, does the physio think that you're fit to be training on concrete? I mean, I had an overuse injury from concrete, so I totally understand where you're coming from. They're not fun injuries in general, particularly overuse ones, and concrete is a surefire way, if you're training on it, to get an overuse injury. If you're doing sort of jumping and HIIT like and as you say, you're getting sore joints. So something else that you can do is like exercise that I can think of is, instead of doing like a jump squat, for example, maybe do a squat and then twist at the end, so that, say, your right foot is staying still and then your left foot, you're going on the balls of your feet and twisting to the side. Same thing, going squat back down, left foot is planted, right foot balls of the feet, and then twist to the side, just to get that quick rapid movement going, but you don't have to jump. Also, you can get like gym floor puzzle pieces almost. They're like little square things that interlock with each other that you can put on your floor. That's another suggestion. Another exercise that you can do instead of sort of like squats and what was I going to say? And, oh yeah, squat, jump, stuff like that. Think about the fundamental, oh, sorry, that was an email. Think about the fundamental movements of the exercise you're doing. Okay, so let's think about a squat, for example. What is that? So it's a hip hinge, or a hip, the bend of the hip, a bend of the knees, chest up. Okay, so that's basically three major things that are to do with the squat. All right, let's think about another exercise that involves similar movements, but is in a different way, that it has less force on the knees. One thing that I can think about is, for example, a hip extension, or a glute bridge, as it's often called. So glute as in GLUTE. You don't have to add the E at the end, or it doesn't really matter. Or it's also called a gluteal bridge. It's just another way to exercise the glutes and the hamstrings. Having said that, if you do feel your quads firing during this exercise, that's not great. And don't do them. If that's the case, only do this exercise if you can only feel your glutes primarily, and then a little bit of hamstrings as well. I have a tutorial on my Instagram, which I will link below, as to how to do this exercise properly. That's the first exercise that I can think of. Maybe think about doing a little bit more upper body and core. There's so many core exercises that you can do laying on the ground that involve those punchy, rapid movements. For example, tuck outs, dead bugs. What's another one that you could do? Oh, another thing you could do is this exercise. I don't even know what it's called, but you start kneeling, upright kneeling, and then you sort of step up in a way that you result into a squat, and then you step back down, so you go on your knees. So what you could do to do that exercise is fold up a towel a few times and have your knees on that, so that when your knees touch the floor, they're only touching the towel and they have that cushioning as well. That's what I would recommend. But also, of course, make sure there's no underlying issues, and it's not the underlying issues that are affecting your joints and your pain, and it's not the concrete floors at all. So that's another thing I'd recommend. And I think that's basically everything that I can recommend for you. Sorry that that's the case. I know it's super annoying when you're trying your best and it's not working. And I hope this has helped. If I still haven't answered the question, or there's more information you need, please feel free to DM me. My DMs are always open. Of course, I'm not going to message back 24/7, but I'm happy to answer any other questions. Have an awesome week, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate it. And time for disclaimers. So please chuck us a follow on Instagram at fitness_explain_by_mil, or just fitness explain for short. I am working on getting us onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all other podcast streaming services. However, it's just a matter of time. If I have used any references, which I most likely have, it will be in the show notes / description bar below. If you could please like, follow, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Also, take a screenshot and put it on your socials and tag us. I'd also really appreciate that. Also, this podcast is a platform that's general in nature and not tailored to your specific needs. If you are struggling with your mental or physical health and well-being, please seek help from a medical professional such as a registered psychologist, registered and qualified dietitian, registered GP, registered exercise scientist, or physiologist. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.